Welcome, Renee Paplham, Wisconsin State Assembly District 1 candidate, to this interview by Joshua and the League of Women Voters of Greater Green Bay. We will ask 6 questions with time at the end for you to add anything else you want the voters to know. Are you ready?
I am.
Okay. Let's begin. Please tell us about yourself and why you're running.
So I'm a Kewanee native, born and raised. I live there currently with my husband and daughter. I received my bachelor's degree from LWVGGB and in the area of human development, and I've worked primarily most of my career with adults and children with special needs. Currently I'm a mediator, so I throw myself in the middle of conflict every day, looking for areas of agreement. And it wasn't until the Dobbs decision that I threw myself into politics in a pretty big way, and that's how I ended up here today. I think voters are looking for a new generation of leaders that are responsive and care about what their constituents think.
Thank you. Your first question. Most people agree that the aging Green Bay and Waupun prisons must be closed. Would you support these closures without building a new prison? Please explain.
Sure. So I don't know too much about the population that is served there, but my best guess would be that there are individuals that still need to be in prison. However, that does not mean that a new prison needs to look the way traditional prisons have looked in the past. And if we are going to house less prisoners and we make movement in that area, we have to support them in other ways of skills development, mental health care, behavioral health care, all of those things, so that we can really reduce the rate of recidivism and have those people going out into the community and doing all the things that they need to do to have a successful life.
Thank you. The current lack of affordable housing is a huge issue for so many families. What are your thoughts regarding the recipients of rental vouchers being a protected class and imposing regulations on landlords in regards to how much they're able to charge for monthly rent? Other states put caps on how much landlords are allowed to charge. Would you be in support of either of these changes?
So this is not something that I have heard in all of the people and voters I have talked to in my district. This is not, I mean, the lack of affordable housing has come up, but I have not heard anybody suggest that we need rent controls or there's any issues with rental vouchers. So I think that the thing we need to focus on here is increasing the supply of housing, and the recently passed affordable housing provisions are a good start. However, we need a multifaceted approach to really tackle this problem, and we have to start somewhere. So I definitely support low interest loans for folks that want to restore or rehabilitate existing housing. I would support tax credits for first-time home buyers, and initiatives like targeting with grant funding, maybe some Main Street housing revitalization programs in rural communities.
Thank you. Third question. We believe that democracy works best when citizens can interact with their elected representatives between elections. If elected, how do you plan to remain engaged?
So I think there's a lot of ways to remain engaged, and you have to reach people where they're at. So again, just being really responsive on telephone calls and emails and getting back to folks, keeping people up to speed on things like newsletters is a good way to communicate, and then making sure you're invited to these areas in local governments where they're having issues so that you know what they are and you can connect people and help out where you can. The other thing that I've been doing with Dr. Kristen Lyerly is we've been holding a lot of town halls, and I think they're mostly our supporters, but there are also a lot of independents and new faces that come. And I think that open and honest community conversations can happen so long as we keep respect and decorum at a high level.
What is your position on the current reproductive health laws in Wisconsin, and what, if anything, would you change?
So I think this area is really an area where we have not had an open and honest conversation with our representatives. So I would first say that we need to start talking a little more in depth about this, and also including everybody at the table, women, families, doctors, experts, and then we need to understand where people are at, engage where they are at. I certainly know that the decision of if and when and how to start a family is deeply personal, and many voters believe that that decision for health care should be addressed by a pregnant woman and her family with the support of her doctor and trusted loved ones. And I think the fact that when Roe versus Wade was overturned and our GOP stood strongly behind an 1849 abortion ban showed voters a real lack of empathy on the GOP's part, and I don't think voters have forgotten about it, and I think there will be a high voter turnout because of this specific issue.
Thank you. What is your position on school vouchers in Wisconsin?
So I think the original intent in this program was good. However, I think this program has morphed into something that it was never intended to be. I believe that taxpayers aren't too thrilled about their taxpayer dollars going to private schools. So I think what we could do there is provide transparency in where those taxpayer dollars are going and how many are going to voucher schools versus private. And then we need to talk about the standards that are set for voucher programs, that they should meet the exact same requirements as public schools. So when we're talking about not discriminating against students of the LGBTQ+ community and then having the same academic standards.
Your sixth and final question. What do you think about the fairness and integrity of Wisconsin elections, and what changes, if any, would you propose?
I think we have a high level of integrity. I think that that has been proven over the past couple of years. I think there's a lot of dangerous rhetoric surrounding that is setting us up for potentially another January 6th. I believe now that we have fair maps in our state for the first time in 13 years, I think we have really leveled the playing field and we have competitive districts, which does everything to benefit the responsiveness of our representatives when they know they don't have a safe seat and they have to work to stay in that seat. So I think moving forward, it would be wise if our state looked at a nonpartisan commission to work on redistricting.
As we wrap up, please add anything else you would like the voters to know.
So I think that voters need to know that this year is really special. Not only is it our first time in 13 years voting with fair maps, but we know the power we hold here in this state to tip the presidential election for the entire country, so that the work we do here in Wisconsin is the work that we do for everyone across this nation.
Thank you, Renee. We have been speaking to Renee Paplham, candidate for Wisconsin State Assembly District 1. Thank you.